Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am recording this lovely podcast from lovely Escazú, Costa Rica, on Sunday, the 4th of August in the year 2024. And the first thing I want to bring to your attention is that I was featured in an article by a magazine, I believe out of South Africa, called Mystic Mag. And their website address is mysticmag.com. They look at different astrologers and people in this industry, and they give interviews, and you get a sense of what the person is all about, etc. So they interviewed me, asked me some very interesting questions about alchemy and astrology, and you can go see that. You can find the link to this on my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and go to my astrologer's thoughts. The link is at the bottom of the page, and you will see the latest post I have made has the link, and I mention it. Okay. And also on my Instagram, if you go to the Golden Astrologer, you can go to my highlights, the first one being astrology, and it's the very last one. So you have to kind of tap through to the last entry on the astrology highlights, because I just put it up the other day, and click on the link on the highlight. And that will give you access to this article. Very interesting. It was a very interesting conversation. They asked very interesting questions. They were deep. This was not fluffy. So I highly recommend it. Now, we are in between the new moon, which happened at 7:13 a.m. today, Eastern Time, and what is going to be the Mercury retrograde, which is going to happen 12:56 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow morning, which is later tonight, my time. So it's going to be almost 11 o'clock when it goes retrograde where I am. So we're in between these things, and I definitely woke up this morning feeling that the energy was wonky. It felt wonky. So it wasn't, and I think that's more about the Mercury retrograde than it is about the new moon, because the new moon's energy was very good. It's bright, it's not visible in the sky, but the energy is bright. And it was making some very lovely relationships to Mars and Jupiter in Gemini, which are almost conjunct or relatively conjunct. And that is expansive and high vitality, and just a better experience of this new moon than sort of the lunations we've been having during Cancer season, right? So this is sparkly and big and juicy, and it's in Leo, so it's very fiery, and it may motivate you a bit. Now, I talked about this a whole lot last week on the podcast, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because we have a week ahead. But Mercury is going retrograde, and that definitely feels like a wonky energy. And it's not like it's bad. It's not like Mercury is doing anything nasty to one of the other planets. It's really a very interesting dynamic that is leading us into the sort of the end of the year. And we are nowhere near the end of the year, but we're sort of in the middle of the year. We're a little bit past the midpoint of the year. And this is what I feel is the beginning of a long cycle. Okay. Now, what occurred to me this morning when I awakened was that things that we have been working on and puzzled about and confused and trying to wrap our heads around during this whole experience of Pluto at the end of Capricorn going into Aquarius, back and forth, and one more back and forth, once more into the breach, the back and forth that will start a month from now. And it is definitely a churning kind of energy, a churning kind of time. And my feeling when I awakened was that we got a glimpse of something. Each of us got a glimpse of something. Now, part of that was, that full moon we had 2 weeks ago. But each of us got a glimpse of something that is like the light at the end of the tunnel after this whole process of, back and forth. And we're going to go through and march through this last stage of Pluto in Capricorn to march through and get clear on things, clear out what's been stopping us, what's been hindering us, what the problem, the conundrum has been since, the last year and a half, the last 2 years, this very complicated process that we are in. The new moon is illuminating. Now the light is going to start coming back, and that's why we wait to do a ritual or a cleanse or something. You could cleanse out the old during the dark of the moon, but what's really good is to set intention now. You want to set intention now. You want to go forward with this fiery energy over the next few days. It's like 3 days of processing the new moon. So into this week, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, 4th, 5th, 6th, you can do some really good initiating of some process. That's not to say I'm starting a new business. I'm talking about an internal process because Mercury is now going retrograde, and it's going to take us back through some stuff we've been through in these last weeks while it's been in Leo. And now it's in Virgo, and it's going to go back into Leo. So we've got almost the entire month of August with Mercury in retrograde, and this is an internal house cleaning that we're doing right now. And this new moon is sort of setting up the initiation of that internal house cleaning. This is, okay, I'm getting ready for this last phase of Pluto going into Capricorn, because by the time Mercury's finished with the retrograde and is starting to move forward, it's only, maybe a week or so later that Pluto goes back into Capricorn. So pull together your thoughts, your ideas. What would be going on for you if you were to clean up and clear out the things that you've been grappling with for the last year and a half, 2 years? Because that's where the richness is. There's something that you have not finished. There's a process that you are in that you have not finished, each of us. And you are now about to work through the preparatory stages of finishing that. So this last chapter of Pluto in Capricorn doesn't come until about the 3rd of September, 2nd or 3rd of September, till November 19th, which is a nice little chunk of time. And it is really what we're establishing right now is like, what was that? Like, what was that? What is it that I've been dealing with? Oh, wait a minute. Now I know how to get out of this. I know how to navigate through this and get out of this maze I have been in. Notice I did not say labyrinth. Labyrinths are good things. We set intention, we walk through the labyrinth, and we find our way back out. It's a straight path. A maze is another matter. A maze is, I turned a corner and I came into a wall. Okay, and now I'm going to follow this and it's going to get me nowhere. Labyrinth is set up and it's very clear, and we walk the labyrinth, we make intention, and we own our power, and then we turn around and walk right back out again. They're very different. Mazes are confusing and puzzling, and they're fun to play, like trace through the maze when you're a kid and you have those puzzle books and stuff where you watch a ball go through the maze, and you have a toy and you're shaking it so that the ball goes through the maze. Labyrinths are different. Labyrinth is more of a spiral, and it's very clear because you're walking through it and the whole path is set before you, and it takes you on twists and turns, but you always know that you're going through and you're coming out. Mazes, you can run into it because there's walls. Mazes have walls. Labyrinths don't. Okay, we're walking in a labyrinth, and we don't necessarily, well, the labyrinths I walk have not had. They're flat on the ground and they're stones usually, or they're painted, or they're drawn or something. They're made of something. Some labyrinths might have walls, but you usually know the way through. Mazes are much more complicated and a little nefarious, but they're there is a way through this. And so this enlightenment illumination of today's new moon should start to set you on a course that will help you prepare for Pluto. And that's what Mercury retrograde is like. So this morning was, aha, okay, all right, I'm almost there, but I've got to follow this. And maybe in the last few days, you got some information that kind of kicked your butt. And maybe you were feeling wonky anyway, because I was talking about this on Instagram on Friday, like emotionally a little, and the way through may have occurred to you through the illumination of this new moon. And then Mercury is saying, okay, follow me. Come on, we're going to go back over these details, the things you've been working on this last month or so, and we're going to review all of this, and you're going to get a more sure footing as we get through this, dance. And Mercury is going to help us process the information, process what we've been illuminated by, how we are moving through this. It's in Virgo. It's one of its favorite signs. And it loves being Virgo and Gemini, And it's different in both places. It's detail-oriented, but more so in Virgo. Virgo's more about the details, more about the nitpicky little details that we have to work through. And it's not going to stay in Virgo. It won't stay in Virgo. It's going to go back into Leo. But that's not for a little while yet. So it's not even retrograde yet. I'm talking about this. Not even retrograde yet. Talking about going back into Leo, not yet. Okay, we're going to spend some time in Virgo. We're going to look at the details. We're going to pay attention. And it's not going into Leo until August 14th. And we're just at the very beginning of the month. So we've got another 10 days before it goes back into Leo. So pay attention to the details. What are the details? What's the information that you have been presented with? Something struck you over these last days. Something might have been uncomfortable, a little uncomfortable. While the new moon is speaking sweetly to Mars and Jupiter, Mercury is not. Mercury is squaring them. And it's a wide square. It's a wide square, especially to Mars. But in these last days, while Mercury has been slowing down, things occurred to us that may have been revelatory. And Mercury is saying, hey, here's some information that might help you out. It's a little bit of a punch, but maybe this information is helping you decide what you're going to work on while Mercury's retrograde, which is very important. Very important. This is not the last Mercury retrograde of the year. We will have a Mercury retrograde at the very end of November, and I believe it's in Sagittarius, and it's going to travel back there. Now, Mercury loves Gemini, so it doesn't love Sagittarius. So by the time Mercury's going retrograde again, however, Pluto will be back in Aquarius again. It will find its way through and be back into Aquarius, and we'll be finished with all that Capricorn business, and Mercury will go retrograde at 22 degrees of Sagittarius on the 26th of November. But we're not there yet. Remember, Mercury doesn't really like Sagittarius, so it's going to just be maybe more of a complicated process as we go through it. But I recommend that you use this next 3 weeks, because by the time we get to that one, there's going to be all sorts of revelations that we're going to need to consider after Pluto is in Aquarius to stay, okay? So that's only a few days later, maybe not even a week, or just about a week after Pluto goes into Aquarius to stay, so that we're going to be processing all of that. So let's talk about that then. But the fact, I think it's important that Mercury is going to do this retrograde, finish the retrograde, Pluto goes back into Capricorn, it does its thing, and then when Pluto goes back into Aquarius, Mercury goes retrograde again. So Mercury is bookending this whole Plutonian process. So what we're being asked to do is we're being asked to get ourselves prepared in the month of August. Do what you need to do in the month of August because we've got this next part of the journey. And my instincts tell me it's going to be a wild ride and also a relief. So this is exciting. Think of this as a project, not as a slog through Mercury retrograde. Get excited. It's like, why should I be excited about Mercury retrograde, Deb? Really? Isn't that a pain in the neck? It is a nuisance. It is a nuisance, but it is a necessary nuisance. There are some nuisances that are a gift. There are most nuisances that we have to get, unless you got like a mosquito in the house, which is a nuisance. There is a gift. There's a gift in this. So the gift right now is to really go on this little bit of a roller coaster ride into what it is that you need to finish up. Remember, we're finishing the last 15 years, so you're not going to skate through this on your skateboard, having a wild time, joyriding. No. It's exciting in a wild ride. It's not what I would say is a day at the beach or at the park. This is woohoo. I am like managing this, navigating this. Wow. Okay. I didn't expect that, because whatever you haven't dealt with in this last 15 years is now asking to be dealt with. Now, these are Capricornian matters, of course, that we are dealing with Capricornian matters. What's Capricorn? Well, what did we see in the world happen? Banking, business, government, that kind of stuff, control. Where does that fall in your life? Well, first of all, where does all of this fall? Where does Leo fall in your chart? Because that's where the new moon is. And that's, the new moon is not at the point where Mercury's going back to. New moon is much earlier, but Mercury will go back to 21 or so of Leo. But where's Leo for you? So there should be some illumination in the Leo portion of your chart. And then somewhere on the other side of the chart is Capricorn, where Pluto's going back through. Capricorn is all things responsibility. So where haven't you taken responsibility, and where do you need to take responsibility, and what is it about? And what is this whole experience telling you? What has this last 2 years been about for you? You got to think of this as like the last hurrah. And it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine, because we're going to go into this incredible Aquarius time, which is going to be fascinating. But this is this last hurrah. I bet there's some of it, there's places of your life that you need to take responsibility, but also it could be around your work. It could be around your money and your finances. Why? Because Capricorn deals a lot with banking and government and all those things. And I've been hearing one crazy fraud story after another here in Costa Rica with friends of mine. And it's about like maintaining responsibility. Like, where were you frauded? Oh, that's because you answered the fraudster and you gave them information. Oh, okay. Now you can't get back what you had that they stole. So this is some theme that I've been hearing about an awful lot lately. There are fraudsters out there, and we have to take responsibility and not just think we're being questioned by someone who randomly calls us up. I don't have to tell you this. You know this already. But people get caught off guard. And so there's responsibility to be had and responsibility to be taken. And Mercury retrograde is tricky, and you have to look at where maybe you've been tricked, maybe where you are tricking yourself. Yep. And maybe where you are sort of dreading or not wanting to take responsibility for something. Okay? But it's important to recognize and understand the lessons you're learning right now. My instinct tells me that when Pluto goes back into Capricorn, it's like, okay, it's like Groundhog Day, where we're going to wake up and it's going to be that again, that which I thought I left behind. No, remember this? It's probably been bothering you this whole time Pluto has been dipping a toe in Aquarius, or spending most of this year in Aquarius. dipping a toe last year in Aquarius, it's probably been bothering you, but what you are learning from this is invaluable. There's some place in your life that things need to be ironed out. There's some place that before you can really go forward with your mission, with your life, with your Aquarian topics, your utopian ideas and revelations and innovations, there's some old things that need to be wrapped up. So it's not an accident that we have 3 planets in Leo right now. Right now, because tonight we're not going to have 3 planets in Leo. Tonight Venus is going into Virgo, not her favorite sign. Mercury's favorite sign, not Venus's favorite sign. But this is interesting because Leo is the sign opposite Aquarius. And that's where Pluto is now. Pluto's in Aquarius right now. And it's going to be there for another month. So while we're in Leo season and while things are in Leo, and it's not exactly opposite, of course not, because the full moon we had a couple weeks ago was conjunct. So now we're moving into like oppositions and stuff. This is Pluto's sitting in an Aquarian house. And then there's a whole pile of stuff going on in Leo. And then Mercury's going to come back into Leo. Okay? There's, the sun hasn't even gone halfway through Leo. So we're still dealing with the dynamics of Pluto, setting up shop in Aquarius. And everybody in Leo going, across the street. Okay. It's a flavor. But we're not finished yet with its journey, Pluto's journey through Capricorn. So what has been left open-ended, and what conundrum has plagued you for the last 2 years? What's it about? And this is your chance to wrap it up. And you're going to wrap it up. You are going to wrap it up. There's a certain quality of this that probably requires you to go back in time to 2008 and 2009 and what was going on then, but also what was so important for you to gather together and learn about during this time. The last vestiges of that, the last parts of that lesson are coming in these next weeks and months. So look at this Mercury retrograde as, okay, I'm going to take the initial stages of this. I know what this is because the new moon enlightened me this morning, and I know where I have to take this Mercury retrograde energy, and I got to go back over some details and straighten them out. So by the time Pluto goes into Capricorn again at the beginning of September, I can officially say, all right, I'm ready to iron this out for once and for all. And yeah, it's only a couple of months, so there maybe it's just I understand the navigation of this, and I understand where my mindset needs to be and where I need to go with this. Maybe all the details are going to take some time to really figure out and work through and finish. But the psychological deep process is what we're working on between now and November. Okay? This is a deep internal thing. Whenever planets go backwards or appear to be backwards, they're in apparent backwards motion, they are asking us to go inside. They're asking us to review, revise, repeat, re-understand, and re-evaluate everything that we've been through, okay? And guess what? We're getting a Mars retrograde at the end of the year. In December, early December, Mars is going to go retrograde till next February. So we're not done with going backwards. Right after that finishes, then Venus is going to go retrograde. So we've got a lot to process still till next April. But I think that there's a whole new process coming. I believe that because Pluto will be in a different place for good. That makes a difference. Pluto going into Aquarius this whole time gets us situated. It's like setting up shop. Like I said, it's not the final chapter. We're not completely opening the doors of the shop because the painters haven't left yet. Okay? The guys putting the trim on the doors and on the windows have not left yet. Pluto thinks it's in Aquarius. It's not entirely in Aquarius yet. It is. It's sitting in Aquarius. We're getting revved up. but we still have work to do before we can actually say, I can move forward. Then we can say, okay, when Mars goes retrograde and then Venus goes retrograde, what are my relationships like? This is a whole other dynamic, and we're going to talk about that a whole lot toward the end of the year. But you can bet this coming few months, this end of 2024, is really asking for a deep evaluation of where we've been in these last 16 years, okay? A deep evaluation of that. Now, in addition to Mercury going retrograde, there are other delightful things happening this week. The Sun on Wednesday the 7th is going to sextile Jupiter. That's very, very lovely. That is very, very lovely. That is a nice conversation between the two of them, the Sun and Jupiter. It's more expansiveness. The new moon, remember I said, was in sextile to Mars and Jupiter, which are very close together. But the Sun won't make that exact aspect until Wednesday when it gets connected to Jupiter. Okay? So that's what's happening. The Sun is already ahead of Mars, so they're not talking that way. On Wednesday also, Mercury, which will still be in Virgo, is going to make a conjunction with Venus, who is entering Virgo later tonight. And that's going to be 11:12 p.m. Wednesday the 7th on Eastern Time. And that's actually great because that means communication and relationships, dynamics with people, listening, thinking, processing, especially since Mercury will be retrograde. There's this good energy between the two of them and their friends. So there's information coming forward, especially in your dynamics with other people and your friends and women, So anything that you feel you need to connect with relation to friends and associates, this is something, and it could be very work related because it is Virgo, so it might be boring, but it might be work details that you need to attend to. So this is something really important that's happening. Mercury and Venus don't get together very often, so we're seeing this. Now, Venus, as I speak, is at 29 degrees of Leo, and that is aligned with the fixed star Regulus, which is on the ecliptic, which is where the zodiac is. So it is the king. 29 degrees Leo is like the juiciest part of Leo. It's where Regulus sits. And it's also like, apparently it's moved into Virgo, but for all intents and purposes, Leo, 29 degrees Leo, and Venus is there. So that's the queen. That's the queen. So if you're feeling royal today, it's because Venus is aligned with Regulus. And so this is an important moment. Now, the moon is going to make a conjunction with Venus because the moon is going to enter Virgo tomorrow afternoon, 5:17 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll talk to Venus at 7:24 p.m. Okay? And that's Eastern Time also. So it's very interesting because there will be a very close relationship between Mercury, Venus, and the moon. And that's special. That's got juice in it for us, even though it's in Virgo. Remember, Mercury loves Virgo. So the moon going there, talking to Venus, talking to Mercury, all tomorrow evening is going to be a very deep moment of thought-provoking, contemplating information, okay? What do you need to mull over? What do you need to recognize? What do you need to work through? And it's emotional, and it's personal, because these are the personal planets, and it's got, Moon Venus meeting 7:24 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, and then Moon Mercury meeting at 1:19 a.m. Tuesday morning. So this is only hours apart, but sorry, this is a conjunction. All of it, okay? This is a juicy piece of information to work with, because especially in Virgo, now it could be about your health, it could be about your work, it could be about like, wow, I really need to wake up and take care of some health matters, okay? And if you're not taking care of health matters, planets in Virgo are going to see to it that you do. All right. So this is, and then that Mercury Venus coming later in the week is going to help you see to your health as well. Okay, so the moon is touching these planets. They're talking to one another. There's a dialogue happening, and then there's a deeper dialogue happening on Wednesday. But all of it is important as we begin this next phase of Mercury retrograde. And Mercury will be retrograde till about the 28th of August. And that's fine because it gives us a chance to really work with this energy and go deep with ourselves. Go in, go in, go in. Okay? And when you go into the Leo component, think about what sets your fire going. What really makes your fire going and that you get inspired by something. So now, what is it that you were enlightened about today? What was it that helped you stretch your view of where you're going? Because that Jupiter connected to the new moon, that's about stretching your vision, stretching who you are, stretching yourself and the next phase of your life. So if you recognize, well, I see where I've been holding back and playing small, because Leo doesn't like to play small, and Jupiter never likes to play small. So if you see and notice where you've been held back by typical patterns of your life, of usual behaviors, and you see and you get a glimpse of something that is deeply expansive, which is what this new moon was giving us, then it's important for you to take that vision and run with it and say, okay, now I see, I understand where I've been playing small, where I haven't been expanding myself, where I am relying on the same old things, but I'm getting the same old things. And I don't want this anymore. So this is another nice little awakening the new moon brought us. Yeah, maybe it was provocative. Maybe it kicked your butt a bit. Maybe it made you a little squirmy or anxious or uncomfortable. But no one gets anything done if they're comfortable. We can stay in our comfort zone and not get anything done. Yeah, there's moments for your comfort zone, obviously. But stretching yourself beyond that, yeah, it feels like, do I have to? Yeah, it's important. Do you want to grow? Well, a new moon is about growth because Jupiter's always asking us to grow and expand, always. And we can get to the next chapter of that growth moment we experienced today when we see the Sun and Jupiter speaking to each other on Wednesday. Okay, so where do you need to grow? Where do you need to grow through things? Where do you need to tap into stuff that is a deep talent that is going to help you grow? Okay, talent. Leo is about talent. Where are your talents? What are your gifts? What are your gifts? What are the gifts that you use in your life all the time that you might take for granted? Venus at Regulus really shows us where our gifts are. So take some time today, tomorrow, whenever you're listening to this podcast, and acknowledge your gifts, acknowledge what they are, and acknowledge how they help you navigate this new terrain that we're going to be in. Okay, this new terrain of Aquarius and what we need to finish up before we go there. And if you are interested in talking to me about this, gosh, that would be a great thing for me to help you navigate this time, because that's what I do. I help people navigate whatever they're going through. So I invite you to join me in a session. You can join me at thegoldenastrologer.com, click book online. Maybe it's just a nice Reiki session you would like to clear up some energies that are hanging over you. That's great to do during retrogrades. Maybe you want to do an astrology session to explore all of this. You can do that. Click book online at my website, thegoldenastrologer.com. And I invite you to join me in expansion mentoring, which will take you through, if you spend, the next 6 months doing it, great. Next year, the next 3 months, whatever you desire, we will go through this together and we'll do life together. And you'll see where you can take this energy, that's up and coming energy, that's going to ask you to finish up some stuff, or you can see where you're going next. I have a feeling of excitement. And there's going to be some joy when we come through this, okay? When Pluto finishes and we recognize and realize what we've been working through all this time. I think a lot's going to be revealed through the Mercury retrograde, and a lot's going to be revealed to us through the Pluto retrograde in Capricorn and its last hurrah in Capricorn. So join me. Please join me. I'm on Instagram as well, the Golden Astrologer, and I'll be talking about all sorts of things there, this and many other things. And that article about me is in Mystic Mag. It's just an online site, mysticmag.com, and you can go to my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and click on the link in Astrologer's Thoughts, and that will take you to the article where you can read about my responses to all sorts of alchemical questions and questions about mundane astrology, etc., etc. Thank you so much for listening. May you have a beautiful, limitless, gorgeous week ahead. Invite in Mercury retrograde to be your friend and navigate through this wild time of surprises and engaging with energies that we are going to work out and work through and navigate. So, see you next Sunday. Be well. Thank you for listening.